Let's bring in Samah Hadid. He's joining us from Amman of the Norwegian Refugee Council. Thank you for speaking to France 24. Not sure if you're able to hear that report from our correspondent, Samah, but she had said that there was U.S. intelligence confirming some of what Israel was alleging, that Hamas fighters are sheltering in medical facilities or medical vehicles. If that is indeed the case, how does this complicate the humanitarian situation?
Well, those claims can't be confirmed or verified at this point. And the principle of protecting civilians remains the same. Civilians must be protected, especially those who are wounded and need medical attention. So hospitals, refugee camps, schools, where we have large amounts of civilians seeking refuge and shelter and seeking treatment, must be protected in these hostilities. What we're witnessing in Gaza is horrifying. I mean, the humanitarian catastrophe just keeps getting worse and worse by the day. And it's getting worse because of the intensification of Israeli indiscriminate bombardment that is hitting civilian infrastructure and also leading to widespread civilian deaths. And this is why we're calling for a ceasefire, so that we can prevent further civilian bloodshed and actually allow people to start accessing much needed humanitarian assistance.
You mentioned the civilians must be protected, but as our correspondent was saying, she fears that more hospitals, more schools like this could be targeted in the coming days. If that is the case, what option is there for the medical workers, for the organizations like yours that are on the ground in Gaza?
Well, international law is very clear here. Hospitals are places of help and refuge for people seeking life-saving treatment. They must be protected at all costs. I mean, hospitals, doctors, nurses, civilians must be protected during hostilities. And we urge all parties to protect civilians amid these hostilities. But beyond that, we need to see an end to the suffering. And a ceasefire is much needed right now so that aid can actually reach people in need. The aid that's coming through into Gaza is not enough. It's nowhere near enough. And the situation keeps getting worse because of the ongoing Israeli bombardment. So our plea to the international community is to put an end to this suffering, open up all crossings into Gaza, for Israel to lift its siege on Gaza so that people can start accessing clean water, fuel, food, medical equipment, medicine that's much needed.
Yeah, moments ago, one hospital in the north of Gaza saying it's run out of fuel. Do you have any update on the talks to try and get more fuel into the Strip?
Well, unfortunately, the Israeli authorities are refusing to let fuel into Gaza. And what we know from our staff on the ground, from other humanitarian agencies on the ground, is that fuel is very much needed. It's needed to keep hospitals open. It's needed to provide water pumps with the fuel that's required for safe, clean water. It's needed for bakeries to remain open, to provide much needed bread for people. So fuel is critical here. It's vital that it must be allowed to come through to the Rafah crossing, but also all crossings into Gaza.
Samah, today we heard from the U.S. Special Envoy David Satterfield, who said that up to 1 million people have fled North Gaza, but that still leaves between 350,000 400,000 people in northern Gaza. Why do you think those people might be staying behind?
Well, we know from our staff as well who were in the north, who went to the south, they faced bombardment in the south, and there are no areas in Gaza at the moment that are safe. The resources as well in the south are quite limited. There's not enough shelter, and as I've been saying, not enough assistance to provide people with their basic needs. So people are staying in the north because of this. And they deserve protection under international law. Even if Israel is supposedly providing evacuation warnings, people who remain in the north of Gaza should still be protected. Civilians still need to be protected in the north as they should be protected in the south.
Samah, thank you very much for your time. Samah Hadid speaking to us from the Norwegian Refugee Council.